Anyway, thank you.
Hey, it helps when your sister owns you, kill you in collision. Right? This taught me how to be resourceful.
I would like to call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock and declare that we do have a board quorum present. If you will please stand for our invocation, which will be led by me, and our prayer of allegiance, which will be led by Jerry. Thank you for volunteering. Father, we thank you for another day, and we just thank you for the opportunity to come and to gather and to do the business of our district. Father, just thank you for this wonderful opportunity to be involved, Father, in so many lives in our community. I just pray, God, we would have the right attitude, and Father, everything that we do, that we would try and bring honor and glory to you. Father, even through meetings such as this. Father, just thank you for the many blessings. God, thank you for a wonderful district and just all of the amazing people that we get to work with and to interact with. Father, thank you for our kids. I pray, Father, that all that we do would be in their best interest. Thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. In his name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
First item that we have on our agenda tonight will be under report 2018-19 conference plan report. Mr. Jay White.
Thank you. Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy DEAB Legal and District Goal 5, BISD will recruit, develop, and retain highly effective staff. It's my pleasure to present the compensation plan preview for 2018-2019. Okay, so TASB's Amy Campbell shared several slides at the last board meeting, but I wanted to quickly revisit a few highlights. As you can see, Brazosport ISD was behind in competitive pay for more experienced teachers, and this is before the biggest change in our historic review took place in April 2016. In April 2016, just 2 short years ago, the board approved what equated to a 4% increase. A 3% pay increase for those at market levels, and up to a 7.8% pay increase for teachers with years 11 to 26. This increase was at record levels, as I will show on the next slide. But beyond the base salary increases, we also added stipends for bilingual, stipends for math and science. The total cost in 2016, as you can see in the bottom right corner there, was just at $3 million. Increases at years 13 to 26 were significant. Many of these raises were over $3,000 for individuals. The increase at year 20 was actually $3,896, or 7.9% increase to teachers in 1 year. And that is unheard of. In addition to those large increases, we also gave stipends. At Lanier Middle School, we added distinguished and accomplished teacher stipends. We added math and science $3,000, bilingual $4,000, special ed $2,000 and $1,500, and also $1,500. We added health science stipend of $3,000. Our fine arts and athletic stipends were moved up to the 75th percentile of 6A, and we even added additional pay for attendance up to $600 a year. And if that's not enough, we also pay benchmark years at years 10, 15, 20, etc., which you may have seen recently. Those employees get $500, $750, or $1,000 appreciation stipends as well. So we've done a lot. As a result of these changes, BISD returned to the competitive market at all levels. Experienced teachers' compensation was at or above market, and we were back on track to recruit and retain quality staff. In 1 year, we made up the difference. But as expected, our superintendent board did not want to be average. Rather, we want to set the standard. So the following year, last year, which was for this year's pay cycle, our board approved a 3.3% increase for teachers and a 3% market increase for all other employees. The total cost, as you can see in the bottom right there, for that increase was $2.7 million. The 3.3% increase equated to a $1,850 raise and brought BISD starting salaries to an impressive $53,000 and increased our market competitiveness throughout the teacher pay scale. With a 3.3% increase, BISD is now above the market in pay, and the impact is showing as we move from an 18% turnover rate in the previous 2 years to a current 13.6% turnover rate, which we are very, very proud of. That's our line, that top one right there. Just making sure everybody sees it. It's awesome. Okay, this chart kind of shows you the difference. There is a significant difference. If you can see here, the difference from market at each individual benchmark year, we're significantly above market competitives throughout the structure. Our stipends are also at or above market for bilingual and secondary math and secondary science and special ed. So the question is, what's next? TASB came in and they presented 3 models to you last board meeting. Model 1, 2.5% increase, would cost us right at $2.2 million. Model 2, a 3% increase, would cost us right at $2.6 million. And Model 3, which is a 3.5% increase, would cost us right at $3 million. Shifting gears a little bit, an ongoing concern is the constant rise of healthcare costs by our employees and employees across the state and nation. So we'll take a look at what TRS Active Care looks like for BISD employees. There are 3 options available to our employees, and we'll look at these options as they relate to the cost to the employee. Our employees have the option of taking TRS Active Care 1 HD, TRS Active Care Select, and TRS Active Care 2. Additionally, if you notice here, we have approximately 1,780 employees, and of those 1,780 employees, 1,062 participate in TRS. So 61% of our employees participate in health care. That will be on the quiz. So let's take a look at what that is, and we're gonna get pretty deep just for a second, because there's some options. TRS Active Care 1 HD, 531 of our 1,092 that take TRS Active Care, 49% of those employees chose to take Active Care 1 HD. And then within that, they also have to decide if they're gonna take employee only, employee plus spouse, plus children, or plus family. As you can see, the district contribution is $225 a month toward that, which yields each employee a cost here on the far right. So for an employee only taking Active Care 1 HD, the cost is $126 monthly. And then, of course, if you add spouse or children or family, like any plan, that increases your cost.
I'm assuming HD is high deductible.
HD is high deductible, and if you're wondering what the deductible is, for in-network employee only, it's $2,500. If it's for family in-network, it's $5,000. If it's out-of-network, that doubles.
That's HD.
That's HD. That's a deductible. That's HD.
Better mine, can I get on that one?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not open. Well, I don't know, mate. I don't know. That's a good question. Let's come back to that one. So this is HD. This is the one that is the lower cost in monthly premiums, but does have a higher deductible out of pocket. Okay, and roughly half of the employees that take Active Care do take this plan. And a lot of times they supplement with a health savings plan. Rebecca really wants to talk about it, but I won't let her yet. Okay, so moving on, just so we can get a sampling. The next available option is Active Care Select, and this is a little more inclusive plan, a little more costly plan. And as you can see, Active Care Select, the main thing about Active Care Select is you must take in-network in this plan. So $225 is also the contribution. This is the cost of the employee, employee spouse, employee children, employee family. Like any plan, employee family or employee spouse are going to be your highest cost. So we have right at 32% of the employees that take a plan take this plan. Okay, and then the final option is Active Care 2, a robust coverage plan, but the monthly premiums are even higher. Okay, and 207 of our employees, let me give you a summary sheet in just a second up here, of our 1,092 employees take Active Care 2, which is 19% of those employees that take this.
What are those deductibles on Select? And
Deductible on Select, on this one right here, is $1,200 for the individual and $3,600 for the family. And then when you go to, Active Care 2, $1,000 for the individual and $3,000 for the family. So there's not a huge difference in the deductible. There are a lot more out-of-pocket expenses for Select versus Active Care 2.
And I'll just add that the Select and the Active Care 2 both have your traditional copays. And so the deductible only applies to major medical.
Yes. Whereas 1 HD does not. Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah. So here's a summary so that you can see the TRS Active Care 1, which is the most popular. There's the breakdown. TRS Active Care 2, the breakdown, and TRS Active Care 3. As you can see, most of the numbers come from employee only or employee children. We really don't have a great deal of employees that include spouse or family, and those are the significant cost areas. And that's typical of any health care plan, when you start including your spouse and children as well. You're covering the entire family. Okay, so the summary's there. I've also included a slide here at your leisure if you'd like to dig in a little further to look at the changes. They've changed the names of the healthcare plans. They've changed the rates of the healthcare plans. There's a history behind that, but it varies so significantly depending on what you take that's available to you if you want to look at that a little further. And I can come back to that and talk all through it if you want to spend a long time doing that. I don't mind. So, items to consider. So as we look at salary increases and TRS contributions, BISD has historically chosen to focus on the overall salary for two major reasons. One, employees that do not participate in TRS get maximum benefits to participate or go elsewhere for coverage. Since we have 39% of our employees that do not participate in TRS active care, maximum pay instead of TRS contributions is advantageous to those employees. Additionally, funds paid toward TRS active care are not considered when an employee is calculating his or her top 5 years for retirement purposes. So I'll let that sink in just a second, because those have always been kind of our two biggest rationale for getting the maximum amount to the employee. And really that anyone that's in their last 5 years that's wanting that top average up, it's been definitely their option that they have expressed to us. They want the maximum amount because it calculates for retirement. So I've pulled the pay cost and the benefits cost here together just on one slide. At the top you can see the difference in the salary cost. 2.5 cost, 3% cost, and this is just the general pay increase. And then if we decided that we wanted to look at an additional $25 contribution, $50, $75, or $100, this is what it would cost. The cost would be to the district. So if we add an additional $25 for every employee that takes it, it would cost $300 annually, but it would cost the district $327,000 to make that additional expense. That would only impact the 61% of our employees, because the ones that are not on the plan would not see any of that. So I'm on my final slide. Original projections were to continue to pay all possible allocations for staff into primary pay. Employees have the option of taking TRS or seeking outside options beyond TRS. We have historically tried to put the most money into the hands of the employees to allow each employee to determine what direction he or she wishes to go. Additionally, staff nearing retirement benefits as the top pay is calculated for TRS purposes, as I've already stated. Beyond the pay for staff salaries, we continue to benefit students and staff by utilizing funds also for additional staff, therefore making working conditions and student success more probable. The administration considers the 3% of market increase for all employees to be a favorable option for employees of the district to continue to improve staff recruitment, retention, and campus support for all students. So this is our normal projection that we typically would bring to you, and at this time I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Is there any price break point on the insurance stuff? Because I know some insurances, if you have more people in, you end up dropping overall cost because more people you have participating, you spread it out more. Is there one in there? Is it a linear?
Not for
It's
TRS.
just straight.
Straight across the
State of
board.
Texas.
Statewide.
Texas, so you got more than that.
Yeah. Normally you can pull lives when you're going out for coverage options with different carriers, but TRS active care is in the Aetna policy, and so they've already factored in the total number of lives of all members participating in active care to get the best rate possible. And unfortunately, they're just not best in our eyes.
And 91% of the Texas school districts participate in TRS.
They can't get out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't say to have it.
Once you're in, you're in.
Once you're in, you're in. That's true. Once you're in, you're in.
Facts are facts.
Jerry,
Do we have a guess at how many additional personnel will be adding this year?
Total number or total
Yeah,
calls?
Numbers. Number
We
of.
started looking at that,
That'll
hadn't
be
been,
coming, next
hadn't been
week.
finalized,
Yeah,
but
that'll be coming next
it's been looked at, yeah.
But then, that's not factored in yet.
It's not factored in there for cost.
This is the basis of what we have now.
This is for salary increases or possible salary increases.
We won't have to pay those people salary increases.
George, did that other presentation include the change in premium cost?
No, good point, and Rebecca and I were talking about that earlier, that the information you saw was the current year's, TRS rate. So, they may change.
We won't have that information till the end of May on whether or not TRS active care rates for each plan will go up for next year.
Okay, but historically, how much have they increased?
If you go back to that slide, Jay linked in,
I did.
Okay, that's in that
it,
presentation.
Yeah.
it shows you back from 11, 12, all the plans, and then the premium increases, the difference per month and per year for the employees.
And there's been some name changes to the plans, over the years, so they've shifted a little bit. What the options are, I think one year there was actually 4 plans.
As they continue to reduce benefits but increase premium.
Well, sure.
It can be. Looking at the chart, there's some zeros and hundreds, and then there's 700s, so it's all over the place.
Yeah, and the employee and family, the top end, premium, most people involved is the one that really hit the hardest. So if you're taking TRS, Active Care 2, employee and family, the most premium, that's been historically the one that has the biggest increase. The employee only typically, it's pretty standard increases. They certainly haven't been enough to take too much out of the raises, maybe $100 to $200 annually. We haven't seen those, but if you're taking the top end plans, yeah, those 1 year they really had a big jump, so.
So, are the employees allowed to change plans on an annual basis?
During open enrollment, they can change
Okay.
plans, and then throughout the year, they can only switch if they have a qualifying event.
No, I don't have any questions, but to me, the issues, unfortunately or fortunately, teachers' retirements are based on their top-end salary, right? So,
Yes.
the more we give them in salary, the better off they are
Yes.
for the rest of their life in the long run. So, sucks, insurance is no fun, but it is what it is.
Staying above market value, just coming from an HR perspective, coming from above, if we could stay above market value and then allow employees to choose where they want to spend their money, if they want to go somewhere else and take it, or utilize those funds to take higher plans, that gives them the choice and the option, which is, it's what we've always done, it's what we felt would give everyone the option within their own decision making, so that's why we've stayed with it.
Within this research, did y'all take a look at, like if a person wanted to go outside and get the same coverage, but get it from a non-TRS source? I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but what would that look like?
So what I've looked at with our contribution, it's better to be involved with this. A lot of the people that don't take it through their spouse's employment. But Dan was here, he and I looked at it, Rebecca and I have looked at it. It varies, but for the most part, with our district contribution, it's hard to beat this rate. But we encourage people to look. If someone finds it, let us know. Because, as a district, yeah, that's what we offer, but individually,
Yeah.
anytime somebody can find a better one, if they feel comfortable with all the elements involved with that plan, that's the other part, is you may find a cheaper plan that doesn't offer the deductible changes or the network changes, there's so many variations within the plans.
Are our employees, present company excluded, but are they aware that the district is kicking in $225 a month?
I would say,
some,
I would say yes, because
Yeah.
they see that when they go through the open enrollment
part.
process.
Okay.
And so, could they give you the exact amount monthly or annually? Probably not, but they do know.
I've never had one employee say, man, I'm so thankful that y'all kick in $225. Or quite honestly, any amount.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think, you know,
I mean, I would like to see it in a banner, you know. Our district provides
We do that
a
for our employees
portion
at the end of every year. We
of
give
your
them a total
healthcare.
compensation plan. So we give them their total comp, what we pay in for insurance, what we put in 401k, what we do, and we give that to every employee. So their salary
unemployment
plus
benefits.
all their benefits is vacation, all that goes into that calculation. Yeah. 10 days.
Summer, yes, absolutely.
That's all I have. Any other questions?
I appreciate y'all looking into this, I mean, because that was one of the things I was talking to some teachers, and if the rate of insurance premium increases faster than the rate of pay increases, then the pay increases really aren't helping them any. So I appreciate y'all looking at total compensation to make sure we're taking care of our teachers and staff.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
How long have we been at 225? That was on some report, wasn't it?
As far as I know, we've been there.
Many years?
For sure, since we switched to active care, which was in 2009, 10, I believe, give or take a year. Pretty sure it's 9, 10. And that's the state minimum contribution we're required.
But, it is, there's a requirement.
That is the minimum.
Gotta love government.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda this evening is our board workshop, student performance on mock star assessments and curriculum-based assessments, also known as TEA.
Good evening, members of the board and audience. In accordance with Board Policy EH Local, Brazosport ISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that every student will be future ready. Tonight, we will put you on the racetrack with our BISD principals as they report how they will take their students across the finish line to success. The data from the mock star and the EOCs, along with strategies for improvement, will be shared as we get better, faster. So I want to preface by saying that tonight will not necessarily focus on Tier 1 instruction. You're not going to hear about our quality, wonderful teachers, the additional support that helped our regular teachers do what they needed to do, that balanced literacy and guided reading is really happening, and our courageous leaders have structured their master schedule so that time is allocated each week for teams to work collaboratively. We're in a much better place this year with our mark scores than we were last year, even though we lost, bear in mind, 12 instructional days due to hurricane issues. And we're proud that our teachers know how to agree on the most important skills and concepts that every student must learn. They monitor each student's learning on a frequent basis using team-developed common assessments. They analyze student learning results to determine which students are struggling and which students have demonstrated mastery. They share instructional practices with one another to be effective based on the student learning results from their assessments, and they use their analysis of evidence of student learning to set goals for continuous improvement. So tonight, you're going to hear the plans not for Tier 1, but for Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, and I want to clarify that for just a moment. The Tier 2 and the Tier 3 are for those students who are struggling learners. They didn't get it the first time, and they didn't get it the second time. So we have to do something to ensure that they are learning at high levels. So we analyze what's the plan, what are we going to do after we take the mocks, and the engine light starts flashing, the tires are going flat, and the change oil light starts to become permanent on the dashboard. Tonight's presentation will focus on the work of all of our schools in BISD as each of our principals shares their interventions for improving student achievement. We'll once again utilize the dashboards to visualize key performance indicators at a glance. And so in order to keep everyone on track, let's refer to our owner's manual, if you will, with me please. The owner's manual will provide you with the following: the 2017 STAR and EOC results and distinctions earned, and that'll be in the center of the dashboard. Is everybody with me on that? The mock STAR and EOC results on the dials will be to the right and the left of the 2017 results. So when you're looking at it, it'll be like, have it like this. So you'll have the dials here, and then you'll have the results right there in front of you. Got it? Okay. So the second page will provide you with the campus demographics and programs in the center of the page, and more detailed results of the mock on the right and the left of the page. Included in the back of the owner's manual is going to be a glossary, in case we start to use those educational acronyms that y'all are so fond of hearing us say. And finally, you, board members, have space to take notes, copious notes on the presentations, and you have the space to make notes on the strengths, the challenges, and the solutions that you hear as the principals report their maintenance plans and warranties when the engine lights start to flash on the dashboard. We're going to divide the presentation tonight into Freeport, Clute, and Lake Jackson feeder patterns. So after each feeder pattern is presented, we will pull into the pit stops for you to ask any clarifying questions. So are you ready to start your engines, board members? Okay. So we're going to, I didn't hear enthusiasm in that. Are you ready to start your engines? Okay. So we're going to start with our littles at OA Fleming, soon to be Freeport Elementary, with Principal Maria Espinosa. All right. Espinosa, you start us off.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maria Espinosa. I'm the proud principal of OA Fleming Elementary in Freeport, also known as the land of the littles, as Clara said. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak about the great things that are happening at OA Fleming and our strategies for continued student success. As we race for the finish line this school year, there are several things that are revving up our engines. Two pit stops that I would like to talk about tonight are our focus on results and our culture of collaboration. We have stayed on the racetrack and have not strayed from our focus of providing a strong foundation in reading and math for our students. We continue to focus on balanced literacy practice and providing a strong math foundation with a targeted focus on guided reading, writing, and hands-on math instruction. According to our most recent data, as you can see in front of you, we're doing well, but we want to push our students to a higher level of learning. We continue to provide training for our teachers and interventions for our students. Our teachers have received support with trainings from our ELA consultant and early childhood specialists in the areas of guided reading, writing, and phonics. As educators, we know that these areas are the building blocks to success for all areas of academics. RTI time is built into the master schedule, and 26 of our staff have been trained in the LOI program and TIMI interventions. They regularly pull small groups 4 times a week for 30 minutes of intense small group instruction. Small groups are reviewed and adjusted continuously through the RTI process, and Tier 3 students are progress monitored, or we check their oil to see if the interventions are working. For most of our struggling learners, we provide additional intervention time, or double dip as needed. For our students that don't get pulled for LOI but still need some support, we have hired a retired former BISD reading specialist to work with those students 3 days a week in small groups. For Timmy, our math interventionist pulls for additional intervention time. We want to ensure that all means all and that no child is overlooked. The second pit stop that I'd like to discuss is our culture of collaboration. PLCs are one of our main vehicles and driving forces at OA Fleming. Research has shown that 70% of high-impact schools review assessment data on a weekly to monthly basis. At Fleming, teachers have weekly PLCs that are built into their schedules. This is a time for our teachers to collaborate, to share best practices, and to analyze our student data. We have created common formative assessments and kindergarten and first grade report card assessments that are used across the grade level. The learning and collaboration does not stop in PLCs. Recently, we held our POP Day, which is Peer Observation Day. And this day was dedicated to giving teachers time to observe their grade level peers or any teacher on campus working with students. There were 26 teachers that participated in this activity, and 54 lessons were shared with others. The feedback from the staff has been very positive and amazing. In order to implement ideas observed during POP Day, we will follow up with teachers to help them implement those great strategies that were learned and shared. In summary, by staying in our lane on the racetrack of learning and providing a strong foundation for our learners, we know our Dolphins will be prepared and ready to swim to Velasco and beyond. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to report tonight on the latest news from Velasco Elementary following our mock STAR test. Oh, I need to do this, don't I? Oh, there it is. Okay. Our students are growing, and our mock scores show it. While we're ahead of where we were last year, at this time last year, we're still well below our goal of 75% meeting standard on all tests. Writing specifically showed major discrepancies between teachers, and we've delved into that data at our PLC, and teachers are collaborating on best practices in writing. We've worked with our literacy consultant and created a detailed calendar to address weak areas. We've grouped students, made structural rotations so that teachers with the highest results were able to work with every fourth grader while modeling for the teachers that kind of were struggling. We held a writing boot camp 10 days prior to the writing test, which is tomorrow. And our teachers are fairly confident that our students are ready. We've seen great strides in the writing is improving. So hopefully, you know, a lot of candles tonight for all of our writers tomorrow. While none of our mock test scores met our goal of 75% meeting standard, our major flat tire and biggest area to address is fourth grade math. We again had a discrepancy between teachers. One of our teachers was one of the top 5 in the district, and one was lowest. So there's a major concern there. And our special populations, as you can see, show some concern. Not only are these concerns being addressed weekly in PLC, we're also collaborating with Fleming to ensure that our students are getting the best instruction possible. Staff from Fleming help us lead our after-school and Saturday school tutorials alongside Velasco staff. Elva Arroyo, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's a current Fleming interventionist, but she's also a very talented math teacher. She works with Velasco half a day and teaches 2 sections of fourth grade math while modeling best practices for a new teacher who was struggling with instructional delivery. We send an instructional aide to Fleming to cover Miss Arroyo's groups while she's at Velasco because we don't want to leave gaps for Fleming that we have to make up in the future. We hired a retired teacher to work with groups of students during the day, 3 days a week. So we have lots and lots of groups going on every day that are very targeted. We've restructured the master schedule to include in-school tutorials, and we use weekly PLCs to monitor those groups and easily make changes as needed, which we do almost every week. We will hold a 10-day rock and review before the math and reading start on May 14th and 15th. Finally, Velasco staff is committed to 75% of our students meeting standard on all STAR tests. We will meet school progress by showing growth in reading and math in 4th grade, and our special populations will meet standard and show growth. And we want to thank you for your support and for being our cheerleaders behind the scenes. Don't do that one. I do Brazosport High School. Okay, there it is. There we go. Go back one slide.
Hello. I'm Brian Brooks. I was asked in November to get behind the driver's seat at Stephen F. Austin, and I did. And the first thing I noticed was a lot of check engine lights on at the school. One thing we looked at when I was asked to do this job was I looked at the STAR scores, and they're not good, in my opinion. They're really low. I got there and I started looking at some things we were doing at the school. Seemed like the school was more focused on some STEM activities going on at that school at that time. I visited the classrooms frequently and did not observe any best practices going on, like guided reading and guided instruction, things like that. Again, the school was focused on, to me, was focused on STEM activities and not STAR. I'm a STAR guy. I like to be focused on that kind of thing. I also noticed that they had recess for 5th and 6th grade, which was kind of blew my mind on that. Sometimes students were out there for 45 minutes at a time. Noticed that we had some field trips planned right before the STAR test, not a good thing. And the biggie was, I counted the absences, and we had over 250 absences for like 25 teachers. And out of those 250 days, 100 of those days were used for professional development. And again, in my opinion, that's just, we've got to change some focus on that. They had something called gifted time. Teachers came around Christmas asking if they were going to get gifted time, which was, I found out it was they get off an hour before school or an hour, come in an hour late as a Christmas present. And the mock star scores weren't very good. So I decided we needed to have a tune-up, and I'm on that next slide. And so the first thing we had, well, I'll get to that, but first thing we did was I needed a lot of people to help me get this school back on track, get to where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. The first thing I did was created a campus advisory team committee, a CAT team, to get together to discuss some of my concerns that I saw at the campus. We disaggregated the STAR scores, and we shared them with all the grade levels. We compared apples to apples, which was like the 3rd grade kids to when they became 4th grade kids, and looked at the scores when they were 3rd graders, and then looked when they were 4th graders, and 4th to 5th, and so forth. And we noticed that there was always a decrease in the value. The scores were going down. Then we compared apples to oranges, which was 3rd grade one year to 3rd grade next year. Y'all know what I'm talking about on that? Yeah. And it was always decreased in every grade level. It was horrible. And we shared that with the kindergarten teachers all the way up, because that's where it starts. It starts in the kindergarten. That's the foundation. Those eyes were opened up, and teachers were saying, what can we do to help with this? And so we've got everybody on board now with the CAT team and our kindergarten teachers and pre-K and 1st grade, and we made a change. I can see that already. I'm making regular visits to the classroom now, and I'm seeing the guided reading activities going on, as well as the small group instruction, and things are looking real good. We have some outside teachers coming in to help tutor 3 to 4 days a week before the test. We also are doing an after-school blitz in 2 weeks before the STAR test. We canceled the field trips. There's no gifted time. I'm now known as the Grinch that stole Christmas. And we've also revamped the 5th and 6th grade recess, so I'm also known as the rear end that took away recess. And we started planning one vertical team meeting per month after school. We also modified our PLC times that allows more scheduling for students. We can focus on students on our after-school activities and stuff. We're adjusting the master schedule to incorporate an intervention and enrichment time for all the students on the class for next year. And hopefully we'll be getting a stream lab with a teacher there that's going to enhance that program. And I've been monitoring the absences in professional development days that we're using and kind of trying to cut back on that. And now we're racing for the finish line, and hopefully we're going to reach there. Any questions? Thank you.
Good evening. I'll move right along. I'll say your favorites as expected on. I'm Bridget Purple, proud principal of Lanier Middle School, and as my first year as principal there culminates, I want to extend my sincere thanks for your continuous support and presence at our campus. This year has been marked with excitement, success, as well as awareness for our propensity for growth. 4 out of 5 of our mock STAR scores showed an increase from last year. However, we are not settling for being behind the pace car. We recognize the need for depth of our intervention with our students, and we are responding with increased support. We've increased our extended day. It says 2 times a week on there. We've increased that to 3 times a week as we've pushed into STAR. We're providing push-in tutorials during the school day to allow for more small groups in our math and reading classes. We've also identified tutorial groups for our English language learners and our special education students. These tutorials are targeted for their specific essential outcome needs so that they're getting the readiness skills necessary to be scaffolded to the next grade level. We're providing Saturday school. We will actually have 3. We had 1 last Saturday, and we've seen great involvement with that and participation with our students. We've also repurposed our embedded flex time tutorials, which is our pride time, to target the needs of those special population students, as well as the Tier 3 students that Ms. Claricelle Davis mentioned earlier that weren't reaching their learning targets. We are very cognizant that the warning light is on with our limited English proficient and special education students, and are addressing this with full throttle with more frequent and intense intervention, and we are seeing results already through our progress monitoring. But we also know that to increase our miles per gallon efficiency, we must also ensure that our teachers continue to serve at high octane levels. And this is being supported through our enhanced professional development and collaboration. We're utilizing our PLC time for planning for our flex time in our tutorial groups, so those groups are very intentional and specifically targeted. We're also increasing our teachers' involvement in our PLC data analysis and their response for targeted instruction and intervention. And we've provided professional development for Tier 2 instruction so that more purposeful intervention is happening through our small group instruction. With our revved up intervention and our increased efficiency, we're driving student outcomes to arrive at the finish line faster, stronger, and with distinction. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Ian White. I'm the proud interim principal at Freeport Intermediate at the time. Thank you for this opportunity to share the great things we have going on at Freeport Intermediate. Oh, you're going to run. Okay. Take the fun out of the control. I like controls. Control that. Sorry. Everybody knows I'm a control freak. I'm sorry. All right. So one of the things that happened this year, as you heard Ms. Clara talk about, was we lost the 12 days of instruction. And when it comes down to it, you lose a little bit more than that. We figured about 3 weeks of instruction for our campus this year. So we had to put priority on time, regaining what time we could. And the second part that we did was we focused on our campus growth. We wanted to move our kids across the performance level from meets to masters and accomplish to meet, and more than anything, close that gap with our students so we provide a better student to Brazosport High School a year from now. So that was our 2 big emphases ever since the start of the year. Next part was we took the data, and every decision we made had to be a data-driven decision. It wasn't, oh, I like the kid, it was a data-driven decision for every student. When we did that, we didn't just look at the bubble kids down, we looked at the bubble kids up more than anything. We wanted to make sure that we were getting a lot of growth and maximizing our students. So the next step was we tried to find the time of the day that we'd already built in. We had it built into our RTI schedule. It was our prime time schedule, and we adjusted it to where our teachers could basically do enrichment and intervention 5 days a week and gain an extra 150 minutes of specific time for that. When we did that, it allowed our teachers to have 2 days a week that they picked whatever kids they wanted, from enrichment to an intervention. They worked with the special population students one day and then the Tier 2 kids one day. With all of that being done, you would think it'd take a long time, but our teachers have figured, with our PLC process and the way we set it up, our teachers can figure out the kid needs intervention on Tuesday. By Wednesday, he has a new schedule, and we're moving him into that intervention class and in and out. So we're very fluid with our intervention. The other thing that helped us this year was our additional ESL support that's helped with our special populations, which was on behalf of y'all. We appreciate that at Freeport Intermediate. To make that all happen beginning of the year and until now, it was all hands on deck, as you can only imagine. During that RTI intervention time, everybody's got something to do. Every elected teacher helps me with study hall. We have 2 administrators in the study hall where at that time every student is either doing a ALEX program, a study island program, or something curriculum based, or the enrichment. Now, that was what we had before going into the mock, and what we had all the way through. Here's some of the things that we did after mock, just to kind of adjust our needs. First thing was we provided additional after-school tutorials for all subjects, not just ELA and math. Our science and history are doing those tutorials going into the STAR test. We want to look at all tests. We want to make sure we're looking for growth. We want the distinctions. Next thing we did was after ELA, we weren't real satisfied with the growth there, so I went out, we called around, and we picked up Study Island to help with our intervention, specifically during that study hall time, to where the students had 38 minutes, they could do ALEX or the Study Island for ELA. Our STAR Blitz schedule was given up until we've already planned it through the whole school year. We just finished our ELA and math one, and we're rolling into the math and history and science. During that time, part of it is those subject levels have choice on students 5 days a week, and then the math ELA get the second tier students after that. And then, of course, we've increased our push-in support for our ESL students in the math classroom. That's just something else that we felt we weren't real strong in, and we wanted to increase that. If you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer anything at this time. Anybody knows me loves I know to talk. Thank you very much. Here you go, sir. You want that?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Do you want to click it for me too?
I will.
Would you like to be in control?
I will. Hey, everybody knows I like to remote control.
Good evening, everybody. Brazosport High School is having a tremendous year as we continue to instill a relentless focus on student achievement and academics. I remember last summer, the band director made an offhand comment to me that we were good at everything but football. Well, this year we were pretty good at football too, which kind of makes high academic standards and academic achievement the final frontier for us. So our goal is to continuously improve and be a model for academic achievement. We've seen great increases in mock test scores and decreases in failure rates, but we don't want to just be preseason champions. Therefore, we've implemented several different strategies that will help us prepare for EOCs and AP exams and achieve district performance goals. For the purposes of tonight's presentation, we'll focus on 4 specific areas of academic achievement: credit recovery, STAR EOC preparation, advanced coursework, and college readiness. First, we've instituted a Summer School Now program to target students who fail to earn credit in English for the first semester. As you know, and you can see on your dashboards, English scores continue to be our lowest achieving area, and by remediating these students' deficiencies now, we expect to see an increase in their STAR performance as a result. Participating students are enrolled into a 9th period after school and do not lose any face-to-face instruction time in other classes. Additionally, we've enrolled students who were unsuccessful in the third 9 weeks in grade recovery through Edgenuity in an attempt to keep these students eligible to earn credit for the second semester while keeping them enrolled in their face-to-face class. Secondly, we've targeted EOC performance in each tested subject area by collaboratively developing STAR boot camps through our professional learning communities. Each team identified weaknesses from mock STAR data and planned a 10-day out review. Each subject area will have an additional 2 staff members allocated during this time, and we've made it a point to collaborate with our dual credit U.S. history professors to ensure these students are successful as well. If you're not familiar with that situation, we have sophomores enrolled through BC in dual credit classes, and we'd like to ensure that they continue to be successful and either meet or exceed our grade level standard for STAR. Third, we focused on servicing our top performing students by holding AP prep sessions throughout the year and administering mock AP exams on Tuesday and Thursday of this week while we administer the EOC English tests. Our goal is to increase the number of students obtaining a qualifying score on AP exams and to prepare these students to be successful in rigorous programs at 4-year universities. Finally, we've increased our focus on college readiness as a campus. Our dual credit counselors, CTE specialists, and campus counselors work collaboratively to ensure that we are pulling in the same direction and that students are taking the necessary steps to apply for college and gain acceptance. This includes several collaboratively planned after-school sessions to complete the FAFSA, scholarship applications, and specific college applications. As a final note, you'll see that our LEP and SPED scores for English 1 and English 2 were significantly lower than what our goals would be. We did make staffing changes in those areas and are confident that those results will be improved as a result. Through these efforts, we believe that Brazosport High School will continue to have more and more students achieve admission to a four-year university and be successful once they enroll, because we truly believe that from Brazosport High School, anything is possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, if you have any questions for our Freeport feeder pattern, by looking at the data, or if you want to ask any of the principals that presented, any clarifying questions, you have the time.
I have one quick one. On all these tutorials that y'all are doing after school, in school, are those STAR-specific type things, or are they just more general in nature or are they all just straight kind of testing?
Very targeted.
Very targeted.
Extreme, got to argue.
By objective and learning standard for each student and group. Our teachers group them by these 5 kids, and even by personalities and everything else. It's very, very specific.
You're looking at the results of the STAR and finding out what areas they're weak in, that's what we're focusing on, the lower schools.
They have, transportation available for Saturday school.
That's why we really want to encourage in-school tutorials. We have lots and lots of groups during the day. The after-school and Saturday, really, I feel like for us is icing on the cake. I want to make sure they get what they need in the 8 hours we have them.
We are providing after school during the week. On the STAR Blitz, we provide transportation,
Okay.
bus takes them home.
Okay.
It's Tim Jones' crew.
We feed them and we bus them.
Feed 'em and food.
Very important.
Food is very important.
Freeport Intermediate 8th grade social studies is 0%. Is that a typo?
Yes, very much so, actually.
We don't have the mark for the
No, but it's
social studies yet.
54, I believe.
Today?
Oh, 0%
That's the
change.
change?
0% change.
On the dashboard right there.
Yeah, the scores weren't in yet. We just took that test last Wednesday. I'm sorry.
So at the time of printing, we didn't have the results yet, so that's why that's there. We'll have it in your board update this week.
It should say MSG for witness and frame.
I see a lot.
Anything else?
The Saturday, the ninth period, Saturday, what kind of participation are we getting? I mean, this really, I guess, more for you, Richard.
So our participation started off strong, then it dipped a little bit, so we made parent phone calls, and now it's back up. So we're averaging about 95%. It's actually very few kids that didn't earn credit for the first semester. You know, that's one of our district goals, so we were very focused on that. It's only about 18 students, and out of those 18 kids, we had 16 showing up pretty consistently. It dropped down to about 12. We got it back up to the 16.
The Loving BISD program that we implemented, I mean, is there an effort to maybe communicate out or call out to see if we can get more tutors and people on campuses to help out and to assist and support you guys? I mean, have we made that call, or can we, kind of re-emphasize that call?
Sure.
So how many retired teachers do you all use at these schools?
I've
Hold
got
your
one.
fingers up.
I've got one.
I'm using 2, and they can only work like 10 days a month because they're retired. You can only use them certain, they're only allowed to work so many days a month. And I've got 2.
I've got 4 right now, and then 6. So I'm doing 2 per subject area. So we got 2 with English 1, 2 with English 2, and then starting next week, or I think the week after, we'll have 6. So 2 for biology, 2 for algebra, and 2 for U.S. history.
So most of these fell in RTI Tier 2, Tier 3. Roughly how many students are we talking about? I mean, we've seen some of these percentages, but I mean, are we talking less than 20, 20 to 50?
When you're looking at Velasco, our grade levels are so big. So like 4th grade is 220 kids, and if you see like 54% pass, so like 100 kids. A lot of kids.
A lot of kids. That's pretty consistent. across all.
At Stephen F. Austin, the teachers are there for 4 hours of tutoring, and they're seeing about 6, 7, 8 kids per hour on the lower end.
I can tell you that, tomorrow we're administering the English 1 end-of-course exam. We have roughly 260 freshmen, or around that, you could tell you probably my exact number, roughly that, but we're testing 400 kids tomorrow in English 1. So we have quite a few students that are, in need of Tier 2 and Tier 3 once you include our retesters.
Okay.
So what is the STAR test administration schedule? English 1 tomorrow, did somebody mention writing?
Fourth grade,
Yeah,
fourth
grade
and
writing.
seventh writing is tomorrow.
And fifth grade math.
Fifth and eighth math.
Fifth grade writing.
Yeah, somebody said that.
What's in the Tuesday and Wednesday?
Yes, it's your English test and SSI.
Mr. Atkins, I'll email it to you tonight.
This way I know which days I have to wake up and cook breakfast.
Please.
Y'all remember McDonald's?
Chick-fil-A's free.
Yeah, McDonald's is free.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We're now going to start the feeder pattern with Dr. Karen Mott.
Hello, thank you so much for this opportunity. There's some great things happening at Griffith, and I love an opportunity just to share those things with you. When I got to the campus in 2013, so this is finishing up my 5th year there, we've had a lot of victories since then, and Clara mentioned some of our Tier 1 instruction earlier, but I think that solid Tier 1 instruction has moved us to be in such a better place right now than we were 5 years ago. So across the board, we've had a 9% increase in each of our tests. It's not where we want to be, but we are still seeing some significant growth over those past 5 years. The place that I think we should, and we do celebrate the most, is with our English language learners. The year that I got there, we only had a 10% passing rate on the 4th grade writing test, and this last year we had a 75% passing rate. So those scores, we've had increases of 45 to 65% across the board with our English language learners. And when you have a population as large as mine, that makes a difference for the entire campus. Our 3rd grade mock scores this past time that we took in February, they were at the same passing percentages that we were at in May of last year. So we're a couple of months ahead of where we were last year. And so that is certainly a victory for our 3rd grade teachers, and they had some of the highest scores in the district. So very proud of our kids and our students there. Some of the things that we've done over the past 5 years, when I got there, our current 3rd and 4th graders were in pre-K and kindergarten. So they have benefited from this solid instruction through kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and I think that that's why our 3rd grade scores look as solid as they do right now. We've made some serious curriculum alignment. That was the first year that we worked with TRS, and that was certainly significant. The balanced literacy, professional learning communities, it's just how we do business at Griffith every day, and that makes a huge difference. All of those were district initiatives, but campus-wide, we really took a focus on student engagement. What are our kids doing when we walk in the room? What the teacher's doing is important, but what is the kid doing in the classroom? We've made some staffing assignment adjustments, and we are very, very intentional about our tutorials. Oh, I did not fix this. I am so sorry. Just keeping it exciting a little bit. So specific areas for tune-up following the mock stars. Certainly 4th grade are areas where we are concerned. Those scores are significantly lower than what our 3rd grade scores are. But they're about the same place that they were this time last year with the 2017 mock. Now the good news is that 4th grade is traditionally where we have seen the most growth. So typically from the mock to the actual star, we'll make 14 to 23% growth at each subject. So I expect great things to come out of 4th grade. That has been our history. So specific things that we're doing following the mock, we have target tutorials, and again, I have a retired teacher that comes in. She sits down with 6 students for 30 minutes and just very deliberate. Why did you answer that? What were you thinking? Why did we do this? Just to really help, especially at that 3rd and 4th grade level, with our test-taking strategies as much as the teach. We have All-Star Saturdays. We do 6 of those. We've had 2 now. The first week we had 109 students. So it's about 56% of our kids show up for school on Saturday morning. And we had 98 this past week. I was tempted to knock on a neighborhood door and get 2 more. So, but certainly those are successful. The kids have
4 45-minute sessions, I hand schedule those. If you are strong in measurements, that's not the tutorial I'm putting you in. If inferencing is your concern, you are doing a lot of inferencing on Saturday morning. So those are very intentional, very deliberate. And then certainly each grade level has our PLC rotations, and they take the grade level. Essentially, we eliminate the walls of the classroom. If you've got a couple of kids here and one here, we're pulling those together and helping remediate those. So that's what's happening at Griffith.
Hello. How are y'all this evening? I'm Chrissy Traylor, principal at TWO. It's always a pleasure to stand up in front of y'all and speak. That was a joke. Okay, anyway. No, really it is. All right, following, at TWO, our engine lights are on. Following our mock star results, I want to highlight just a couple of things. One thing that was really great, our third grade did much better this year than last year's. We're about 10% higher on our mock results in reading and about 30 percentage points higher in math. So, woohoo, celebration. Fourth grade, on the other hand, we're about the same as last year at this time. We took a little dip in reading, we went up a little bit in math, and we went up a little bit in writing also, but it's still no bueno. Alrighty, so what did we do after our mock results came in? We had each teacher look at the TEKS. We sat down in our PLC, our professional learning community, and we focused on what our weaker TEKS were. We ranked them from weak to strong. So we looked at those, and each teacher created a plan for improvement, and I could share those with y'all at a later date if you'd like to see those. So what we found out? What did we find out? We found out in math that in third and in fourth grade, multi-step problem solving is killing our kids. They can get through part of the problem, but the second part of the problem comes, and it's like, oh, I'm done, because that answer's there. So, they have to keep pushing forward. In third and fourth grade reading, we're looking at inferencing, summarization, and poetry. And in writing, our big focus has been, since February, revising and editing. We also restructured our writing plan to where the kids have written about 6 to 8 compositions since February. That's like one every week for 2 to 3 days. Alright, so some of the things we're doing for repair and maintenance, tutoring after school. Since January, we're doing Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now we're doing Mondays and Wednesdays with one set of kids and Tuesdays and Thursdays with another set of kids. So the teachers see about 10 kids each. I told them they had to have at least 8. We have our daily Twister literacy and math time. It's 1 hour during the school day, which is very structured by TEK. All hands on deck. We have other grade levels tutoring during their RTI blocks, pulling 4th graders. Our K2 intervention, this is also pulling 4th graders. And we have a retired teacher that comes 3 times a week. Our interventionists and instructional coaches are pushing in, so it puts a second person in the English Language Arts classroom in 4th grade. We did a writing camp last week, cruising to STAR, so they were on a cruise ship and they had their passport and they traveled from room to room. They wrote compositions, played fun games, trash ball, and just had a really, really great week. And then also 10 days for math. This is 4th grade and 3rd. Prior to the math STAR, we're going to do the lead forward rock and review, and it won't be uncommon that you see a teacher and a judge, is the judge and jury in her classroom. So what I want to leave you with, I have it. What I want to leave you with is this. Sorry. Race car drivers know that whatever they look at is where their race car aims itself. If they look at dangers and walls, they will smack right into them. So we're thinking like a race car driver, and we're not focusing on what we don't want. So with a lot of grit and determination and a whole lot of prayer, we're going to get there. Thank you.
Hi, Tara Fulton, Polk Principal. We've had a great year so far at Polk. We're looking forward to what the remainder of the year has for us. When we looked at our mock scores, we didn't have any surprises. We had a solid idea of how our kids were going to perform before they took the test because of the common formative assessment and the data tracking that we do in our PLCs. And so we know where our kids are as we go, so the summative assessment that we did should not show us too much that we didn't already know, because we focus on our formative assessments as we go along in our PLCs. Because we operate as a PLC, we followed our normal protocol for analyzing data and for collectively deciding on a plan of action. We analyzed our data both as grade level PLCs and as a whole school PLC. Together, our team had a plan in place ready to go the day after mock was given, and we are confident that our plan of action is going to yield positive results. We saw that our scores were overall at or higher than they were last year on mock. We also saw that we had no significant gaps in achievement among our special population. This is notable because last year this is where we earned our TEA distinction, and we know that we're on track to do that again this year. Also, if you look at our data from teacher to teacher, you don't see any huge gaps, and this is very significant because our teams are operating in a culture of collaboration. I have very strong teacher teams in 3rd and 4th grade, and so their results just shows that their teamwork and their collaboration is working. While we feel very confident about our progress on mock, we as a PLC set SMART goals at the beginning of the year to achieve 90% or more on STAR across the grade levels, across the subject areas, and so we want to hit that goal. Being a national model PLC, we ensure that all students are learning at high levels, we operate in a collaborative culture, and we focus on results by knowing our kids and intervening when they are not achieving their essential learning outcomes. So we broke down our data standard by standard, student by student, and we found a few areas that we need to target. And those areas are revising and editing and writing. Our composition scores were higher, but we saw a need for more time in revising and editing. We saw a need to raise achievement with our 4th grade African Americans in writing. We saw a need for more time and effort in summary and poetry and reading, and 3rd grade achievement in Spanish reading. Also, our multi-step word problems in math for 3rd and 4th grade. So our plan of action for our PLCs, we aligned our Panda time, which is our embedded RTI time, and we had RTI updates for some of our students who needed some changes in their RTI plan. We shared the data with our students and our parents so that they knew their areas of need and their areas of strength. We created specific formative assessments to track growth and mastery on the TEKS, and we kept up with those in our data folders that we use for 3rd and 4th grade. We have our weekly boot camp, which is extended RTI on Wednesdays, and this is for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. We have tutoring before and after school for our Tier 3 and Tier 2 students that need it. And then we have writing camp for 4th grade, and we specifically focus on revising and editing. Also, our librarian has embedded some poetry lessons in her weekly pull-out lessons, and we put that in our literacy station. So we're just going to continue what we've been doing. We're going to continue frequent visibility in the classrooms, frequent walkthroughs so that we know the kids. We're continuing our focus on guided reading and math, and continuing to track our student mastery in our weekly PLCs. And we're striving to meet our SMART goal of 90%, because we want to have everybody grade level ready at the end of the year, and that's what all means means. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, cabinet members, all BISD principals and parents. We at Clear Intermediate believe that student growth and achievement are served in 3 parts. The first part is served by our campus administration. The CIS administration hires all new teachers that will serve the student body's curricular needs. Next, we place those current and newly hired teachers in the right curricular areas and grade levels. Then the CIS administration and PLC intervention teams make needed adjustments to improving learning of all students. How is the CIS administration team making the difference this year? First, in September, we created a new bell schedule that uses 20 minutes of time that students are on campus prior to the start of the school for DEAR, Drop Everything and Read. Next, we hold grade level parent meetings for struggling students who are experiencing difficulties in their attendance and grades. The utilization of BISD intervention classes are used for all testing areas throughout the school day. We double block English classes both in 5th and 7th grades. Campus administration also helped teach, work curriculum, and meet every need of children during our STAR Saturday boot camps that we had the last couple of Saturdays. The second important part of student growth and achievement is served by our teaching and support staff. At the beginning of the school year, our teaching staff in their PLCs will analyze all student data looking for weak TEAC areas. Once those areas are identified, our teaching staff will share that information with each student and make recommendations on how they can grow academically. A very beneficial data gathering time for our teaching staff is the use of Heart Days. Heart Days is a PLC time that occurs 2 weeks prior to major district assessments and 2 weeks after those assessments. During that time, the teaching staff will data crunch the latest district assessment, spiral low-performing TEACs back into future lessons, and create specific new curriculum for those low TEAC areas that will be retaught in after-school tutorials and Saturday boot camps. Our teachers are working many hours after school tutorials. In grades 5, 7, and 8, teachers have been holding after-school tutorials beginning in January. They have been holding tutorials on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays with a specific group based on student needs. The 6th grade teaching staff joined the after-school program in March. The math and English departments met to ensure that those students that require both math and English help receive it each week. Along with those 3 days a week tutorials, our teaching staff also is holding Saturday boot camps. Additionally, STAR Blitzing was held this past week in all teaching areas and those grade levels. The third important part of student growth and achievement is our students and our parents. We ask our parents to keep their own student progress so that they can monitor the progress throughout the school year. This year we have added monthly parent meetings in the spring to inform our parents of what is being taught in their children's math and English classes and how they can go home and help their children. We have also held ELL parent meetings at night and both during the day this year where we discuss topics like ALEX, AR reading programs, and how to help your child at home. In addition, there have been multiple Saturday boot camps and ELL pullouts throughout the day. We have been working extremely hard as a campus to ensure that every child has learned what is required of them, and we are looking for improvement of STAR scores for our campus and the district. Thank you.
All right, do we have any clarifying questions for our clue feeder pattern? If not, we'll move on to our Lake Jackson feeder pattern, starting with O.M. Robertson.
Good evening. At Roberts, when looking at our mock STAR data, we found areas where we're in need of improvement and areas where we have made gains. We're seeing a need in 3rd grade math where there is a large discrepancy between teachers and scores. 3rd grade reading LEP scores are in need, along with 4th grade math and reading SPED and LEP populations. We have, however, shown growth in our LEP population from 3rd to 4th in math and reading, and growth from 3rd to 4th in math overall. To help meet the needs of our students and to ensure our scores rise, we've done some flexible grouping in 3rd and 4th grade on our 3-person teams. From there, we restructured our SPED schedule, therefore increasing support time for our students. This has allowed for a more ideal setting for small group instruction. We've incorporated more differentiation in 3rd math to help support small group instruction by using menus and flip videos. We've increased our LEP supports by providing tutorials with our ESL teacher. Our interventionists and digital coach are pushing into classrooms to help with small group intervention and enrichment. We've restructured our 3rd and 4th grade RTI time to intervene as a grade level versus a team. Our STAR Blitz and tutorials align with lead forward snapshots and student data needs in math, reading, and writing.
Our spring training is in full swing. We're providing during-the-day tutorials 4 days per week and before and after-school tutorials provided by certified and retired teachers. And we've just finished pumping our students up for star writing with an exciting writing camp as well. What we're guaranteeing is we will continue using balanced literacy and guided math. We will continue collaborating through PLCs. We will continue analyzing data and tailoring our instruction to our student needs. And we will continue to enrich and push our students to meet the masters on STAR.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the great things that are happening at A.P. Boydell. At the beginning of the school year, I shared the changes that we made, that we're using the inclusion model with our special ed students and our 3rd and 4th grade ELL students, and we revised our master schedule and rearranged the 4th grade team structure. These changes attributed to the success that we are seeing this year. What are our strengths? Overall, our 3rd grade is showing growth in reading and math compared to last year's 3rd grade mock scores, and our 4th grade students have shown growth in writing, reading, and math compared to last year's mock scores, and they are showing growth in reading and math as compared to last year's 3rd grade STAR scores. Another positive to share is the growth of our 4th grade SPED students on the mock reading test, and we are very excited to celebrate that. What are our concerns? 4th grade ELL students are a concern across the board. They're struggling with writing, reading, and math. Our ESL para that works with them is working collaboratively with our SPED teacher for strategies to help make them successful. Our other concern is our 4th grade SPED students who are not performing as well in writing and in math. We have improved the in-class support for our inclusion model and have structured the writing and math classes to match the successful structures seen in reading. Additionally, we are offering tutorials and after school on how to use their accommodations to reach their maximum potential. As I stated above, we are very proud of the growth of our students and are showing, but are not just sitting on the racetrack. We want to speed on and go beyond approaches grade level and race to higher levels and meet grade level and master's grade level. What is our maintenance and repair plan? We continue to analyze student learning standards and are addressing these deficiencies. This is shared in all PLCs, so our whole school embraces the accountability by knowing the data. We have everyone as part of the pit crew, assisting in some capacity. We have rearranged schedules and have more help with 3rd and 4th grade students without neglecting services in our lower grades. Our digital coach is helping with math tutorials, and other staff members are working with students in small groups. Our new building with its collaborative spaces has made a positive learning environment, which has helped tremendously with small group instruction. We have so many wonderful learning spaces for our teachers to work with students in smaller groups. With our 4th grade ELL students, we are working hard with them on the online version of the test. The online version gives students more accommodations than they would normally get with pencil and paper version. What is our warranty or our guarantee? We guarantee that we will collaborate through PLCs and track student growth. We guarantee that our students will show growth from the mock STAR test. And finally, we guarantee that all of our students will show growth and cross the finish line with success. We are looking forward to having distinctions for 2018.
Good evening. I'm Julie Evans, the principal at Beth Brannon Elementary. After we gave the mock test, we discovered the need to focus on our 3rd graders in math. We have a large number of 3rd graders who need to have an oral administration of the test. So we tried an experiment. At the teacher's request, we placed this large group of students, of oral testers, all together in one room. Well, this proved to be less effective than we thought it would be. Most of our oral testers need a small group, and they need to be in that small group in order to be successful. So we began looking at our other staff members to provide support to these students, and we created a mentor program. Staff members who will be administering the test to small group oral testers also became that child's mentor. The mentor meets with their student a few times a week. They begin building a relationship and establishing a positive rapport with their students. The mentor collaborates with the teachers to find ways and to find out what motivates their students, and to also discuss pacing strategies. These students are then familiar and feel secure with their testing environment. We have also increased the frequency of our tutoring programs and restructured all interventions to match the weaker teeth. The third grade teachers have empowered their students to track their own data in math and in reading. They develop tracking sheets that are in kid-friendly language by using I can statements. For example, I can identify the main idea of a story. You can see this sheet by clicking on the link in the PowerPoint at a later time, if you wish. Students reflect and shade in the areas of success on their tracking sheets. They also become very aware of the areas where they are struggling, and they know where they need to work. We have analyzed the schedules and switched the order of our rotations so that the same group of students is not receiving their math instruction at the end of the day. We know that elementary students learn their best in the mornings. We don't want the same group of students always receiving their math instruction in the late afternoon. With tune-ups geared up toward continuous improvement and a mock star pit stop, Brandon is geared up to guarantee dedicated horsepower and peak performance for a strong finish on the star test.
Good evening. I'm Vicki Parr, the principal of Elizabeth May Elementary. I'd like to share with you our response to the mock STAR assessments. These actions are in addition to our continued practice of daily RTI, grade level PLCs, and our school-wide instructional practices. Our first pit stop was taken in early February when our fourth graders took the mock STAR writing assessment. Our writing data indicated an increase over last year, however, we knew we still had work to do, especially with our LEP and SPED students. Our 2 LEP students and our 6 SPED students are currently receiving tutorials and target instruction from both the ESL teacher and the SPED teacher. Our tutorials began immediately. We even started as early in January, but made our necessary adjustments after the mock test. We grouped our students based on similar needs. We put students together by needing revising, editing, and/or composition support. Our students set goals. We also conducted student conferences over their mock test and coached them regarding their next steps in improving their writing performance. We also increased our STAR formatted daily editing and revising practice each day. Finally, we established a rock and roll writing camp for the final weeks prior to the test. It created an excitement by providing incentives in the form of backstage passes, gold and silver guitars, musical notes, and record deals to promote effort, growth in performance, and overall achievement in writing. Our second pit stop occurred in late February when our 3rd and 4th grade students took the mock STAR in reading and math. As we did in writing, we reviewed the data. We looked at student performance, performance by TEAC, and teacher performance. We created our tutorial Thursday. We knew that during the day tutorials had proven most effective, but we also tutored before school and after school. We re-looked at our groups that we established in January and made adjustments based on student performance on the test. We were able to secure enough tutors to keep our groups small. Thank you, BISD. Our tutors included a mix of campus teachers, our ESL teacher, our SPED teacher, and we brought in retired teachers and myself. Classroom teachers were using this time as well to pull groups to target specific peaks with specific students. We continued our weekly STAR formatted assessments. This was to ensure the skills students were mastering were now being transferred on what they would be tested on in STAR. Again, as we did in writing, we grouped our students by needs and we set goals. This was especially powerful when our fourth grade students were able to look at their performance last year in STAR and compare to this year's mocks. Some of our students were even well ahead of where they were in last year's performance. Finally, one of our greatest responses in mock STAR results was our restructuring of our fourth grade for the final 9 weeks of school. Our original structure in fourth grade was 2 teachers for ELA and 2 teachers for math. We changed the structure to a 4-way rotation with 1 teacher teaching writing, 1 teaching reading, 1 teaching math, 1 teaching science and social studies with additional math support. This was in response to some pretty significant differences in student performance by teacher. We also took this opportunity to create flexible groups to help target the needs of not only our most challenged students, but also to ensure our high-performing students were showing growth and learning at high levels. So in conclusion, I'd like to assure you that the NAE learning community continues to support the growth of all students and believe it's not about what you can't do, but what you can do every day to learn and grow. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to start off by saying that I've truly enjoyed my first year at Rasco Middle School, and I sincerely appreciate the opportunity I've had. To start the race this evening, I would like to begin by reviewing our mock STAR data from this spring. In checking our engine light and reviewing our data, we identified that in 2 out of the 3 areas, 5th grade math and 5th grade reading, we did see a slight increase, specifically in our 5th grade math going up by 18% compared to last year's scores. In reviewing our 5th and 6th grade reading, however, we did see a dip compared to last year, and that is an area of focus for us. When checking our engine, we immediately identified areas of concern with our English language learners and our special education student groups. We continue to see a struggle there. Good news is we have maintained our focus of improving scores across the board, and we are confident we will show growth. At this time, I would like to share with you how we have 2 pit stops that we are looking at while we are tuning up our engine. Our first pit stop, which is our culture of collaboration and development, we have made several adjustments to student schedules and teams to best support student academic needs. We continue to collaborate in PLCs weekly to develop common assessments, break down our data, focus on areas of student growth, as well as develop weekly student rotations or pull-out during our rocket hour time. We use this time to focus on student needs and low-performing student expectations. Teachers continue to focus on these expectations and work collaboratively to develop Tier 1 and Tier 2 activities and interventions to focus on appropriate and effective strategies and accommodations for all of our students, but specifically for our English language learners and our special education students. For our second pit stop, through our PLC process and our response to intervention process, we have embedded several interventions during our day. As a proactive measure, we have had 2 tutors, both retired former BISD teachers, for math and ELA, who have been conducting targeted tutorials for our Tier 2 students who did not pass the mock STAR, for our 5th graders since February and for our 6th graders since March. Our tutors pull students twice a week and work on goal setting, academic vocabulary, key foundational skills, and reinforced skills taught in the classroom in a small group setting. For our students that are Tier 3, we continue to have our 2 math and 2 reading intervention teachers work daily with them by receiving one-on-one help through small groups and even pushing into targeted classes to assist with closing the achievement gaps in math and reading. During our rocket hour time, we will soon begin a rotation for our 6th graders that's targeting all students, specifically by student expectation. Students will rotate to specific teachers in respective content areas twice a week for math and ELA to help close gaps. For our 5th graders, we will soon begin a rotation for our science during our rocket hour, focusing on specific objectives and student expectations. Since February, we have also hosted after-school tutorials for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 student groups, specifically our special education students and our English language learner students, twice a week for 4 weeks prior to state testing. Teachers work on targeted learning standards while incorporating engaging activities for students. Our warranty.
For Rasco teachers our Rasco teachers and tutors have worked very hard throughout the year and maintained a hyper focus this spring to provide the appropriate supports for all of our rockets. In summer, we have fine-tuned our engine, revved up our supports, and are back on the racetrack, continuing to focus on results by ensuring our Rasco rockets are supported and prepared, not only for the STAR test, but also for the future. I want to thank you for the opportunity, for allowing me to share this evening, and thank you, and if you have any questions.
Good evening. My name is Susan Wood, and I'm the principal of Lake Jackson Intermediate School. For the last 4 years, Lake Jackson Intermediate School has had the privilege of increased student enrollment. Using March 2nd as our benchmark for each year, we found enrollment was 810 in 2016, 843 in 2017, and 892 this year. As a campus, we're excited about these numbers because it ensures us that we are attracting students from both the private and public sectors, which reaffirms to us all that we're doing is on the right track. I would also like to thank the Board of Trustees for supporting our campus and the initiative. This year, after viewing our mock STAR data in the 7th and 8th grade reading and math and 7th grade writing classes, we went to work to determine an action plan. Included in that action plan was acknowledging that our scores needed to improve in our special ed population, in our special populations, which include our economically disadvantaged students, our English language learner students, and our special education students, as well as our African American population. We need to close the achievement gaps to ensure that all of our students are growing. So here's what we did. We set a full work day aside for 7th and 8th grade ELA departments and a full work day for our 7th and 8th grade math. This included teachers from our special education and ESL departments. We also did a deeper analyzation of our student data, identifying the strengths and the weaknesses in each teacher's own data. This was to determine how we would address the essential outcomes and readiness standards, and to improve our instruction to cover the areas that we were weak in. We also compared this year's scores to last year's scores and found out that our 7th grade made incredible increases in all subjects population, while our 8th grade scores lost ground. However, when we compared our 7th grade and tracked them to 8th grade, they too had increased. Although we increased, we identified that we have still got a lot of work to do with our students in order that they master the tests. To have a better understanding of the assessment, teachers were asked to take the 2017 release STAR test to better understand the questions that were being asked of our students and the stamina that our students needed to finish this test. This process allowed grade level departments to begin to identify those standards and TEKS that were most difficult for our students and the ones that they missed most frequently. And we addressed those with our students who had faltered the most. In addition, throughout the school year, the departmental PLCs met regularly to review instruction and formative assessments to monitor our students' growth. And with that came each department's plan of attack to continue the things that we're doing, monitor success, and make changes for our students, but also to conduct summer school now instead of summer school later after the test and in the summertime. 7th grade reading and 8th grade math held Saturday STAR blitzes to get our students ready for the STAR test this week, while 7th math and 8th reading held these same trainings after school. We also worked with our advanced students during prime time to support any needs that they might have. Serving pizza and drinks were an excellent pull to ensure that our students were in attendance to our invitations. Lake Jackson Intermediate is committed to our students and into an excellence of education. We are confident that our students will be prepared for the upcoming STAR assessment. We want to thank you for your support.
Hello, I'm Rita Pince-Valley. I'm the principal at Brazosport High School. And we noticed that when we looked at our comparison group, we were not where we wanted to be. So this year we took our master scheduling approach and were able to create PLCs inside the school day for our ELA 1, our ELA 2, our Algebra 2, and our biology subjects. And this gave them the opportunity to meet consistently every week, every day, and our Dean of Instruction, Michael Williams, meets with each group once a week to provide them experience data, ongoing data, and then improved strategies for the scores. All of our scores have gone up. However, we are seeking our master's percentage to increase. In fact, we have classes that are competing with one another to get more students into the master's category versus the approaches or meets. We've also added some additional supports. We have put in a program called No Red Ink with our ELA students, and this assists in writing, revising, and editing, as well as Alex in a standard Algebra 1 class, and we also have a specialized algebra course curriculum for struggling students called Agile Minds, which is a double-blocked course. We also have specialized BISD lab periods for students who need individualized supports and small group instruction in our ESD areas. Our Dean of Instruction and our campus digital coaches also are providing campus professional development to all staff monthly that is specialized for our student-driven data population, and it also increases our proficiency in best practice and technology strategies because we are Chromebook one-to-one and we all need to be able to utilize Google. We are all taking EOCs this week in our ELA 1 and our ELA 2, but we'll also be doing 2-week pushes, boot camps, blitzes, whatever you want to call them, on top of that for our strategies in our for the prior exams for biology, algebra, and U.S. history that will be occurring later. So we have those. We were putting those puzzle pieces together today. And if you can change the slide. We're focusing heavily also on increasing our positive campus culture because students who have relationships with their staff will just perform at a higher level. And we'll just be better individuals all around, and that's our goal. We have our Pride Point participation is increasing at our events. We've utilized more restorative practices with our discipline situations and begun using the Harbor videos, which I can tell you about later if you want, in our D-Hall and our truancy classes. This is our first year to implement Belay, and we have large numbers of students attending these meetings and utilizing our success coach for mentoring. The campus has extended our Capturing Kids' Hearts training along with the amazing addition of the team leadership course. Thank you very much. We've broken down our data of students who failed courses at semester, and we created trailer courses very much to the summer school now that they are discussing earlier. And we're doing this through Edgenuity, but we've actually taken our courses and incorporated it into the student's school day and built it there so that they can work individually. And we also have some that take it on an individual basis. But this is to increase our students so that they have the 6 credits by the end of their freshman year. We're very appreciative of the extra supports that we were given this year, in the middle of the year, because of our ELL and SPED populations that have grown tremendously. We've used Read 180 and then additional small groups to assist in filling gaps for our extended reading, math, and interventionists for our struggling students. And all of this, we're also adding fidelity to our AP and dual credit courses and our CTE certifications. And just a quick FYI that I just found out today, last week we tested our floral design children, and we now have 51 students that are certified for the Texas Floral Design course. Yeah, that's great stuff happening in Brazos.
Future ready.
Good evening, I'm Brooke Merritt. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity and the confidence in my ability to serve the district as principal of Be Success Academy. As you know, our campus provides dropout recovery services to some of our district's most at-risk students. We have three primary types of students: Be Inspired, Traditional BSA, and School of Choice. Our Be Inspired students are those who have attended their freshman year on either the Brazosport or Brazosport High School campuses. These students did not earn credits from their four primary core classes of English 1, Algebra 1, Science, or History, and were unable to earn the sophomore classification. Our traditional BSA students are those who are 2 or more years behind their graduating cohort and possibly are overage students wanting to earn their high school diplomas. Our School of Choice students are those who are not behind in their coursework, but desire to accelerate their high school education to graduate early in a smaller school environment. We are held to different accountability measures by the state. Because we are an alternative education campus, the state recognizes the challenges associated with having 75% or more of our students coded at risk, 50% or more of our students must be 17 years of age or older. So, our track is not the standard racetrack of all other BISD campuses. The state has given us a black flag for not meeting the AEA standards. In our past, our campus has been focused primarily on earning credits towards graduation with little emphasis on end-of-course exams. We've been structured to provide instructional acceleration through our online Edgenuity program, with teachers facilitating as car chiefs. As the new crew chief, I quickly entered the race, having to engineer the best possible pit crew to get us back into the accountability race. At semester, we restructured our classes to provide face-to-face instruction for all end-of-course exams, and opened up 2 large credit recovery labs. We changed from an 8-period day to 7 periods daily to allow more instructional time during our face-to-face classes. Students were no longer pulled out of credit labs to receive periodic instructional intervention. Students have prioritized scheduling based on their EOC requirements for graduation. Many students are required to attend 2 class periods of English to prepare for both their English 1 and their English 2 EOCs. Additionally, our English language learners also have 2 class periods. One is for their English EOC, and the other is to support their language acquisition needs. Our PIT crew has developed an accelerated scope and sequence for the EOC course TEKS with the support of our district content coordinators. They were trained by the district consultant to identify the essential standards and prioritize the instructional focus. Our district assessment and accountability coordinator trained our PIT crew to use AWARE to analyze prior STAR assessment and mock STAR assessment data to identify strengths and weaknesses of our individual students. We do have a very small PIT crew of 8 teachers, which makes the traditional PLC structure a little difficult. However, our 3 ELA teachers are able to collaborate as a PLC and have planned closely with our consultant to improve our students' writing scores. Our Algebra 1, Biology, and U.S. History teachers are beginning their intensive daily instructional blitz to prepare for our May EOCs. I have additional EOC teachers providing instructional interventions weekly for our night school and our test-only students Monday through Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. We've seen small pockets of gains in our mock scores when comparing our data from the fall and the spring. The largest gains have been in the areas of biology and U.S. history. My PIT crew has excellent attendance, and they work diligently to improve our students' instructional performance. They have routinely built caring and supportive relationships with our students. Our students know that we will not give up on them. We will continue to re-engineer our practices to improve their student success rate on EOCs and move them closer to the checkered flag to receive their diploma at the finish line. These are just the beginning laps to our transformation of my school into the victory lane.
All right, that concludes our principal presentation.
what is a oral tester?
Somebody that has to have the question and answer choices read to them out loud.
Because they can't read, or because they can't read English, or all the above? Maybe in all reasons. And then, so when you redo a whole fourth grade to now make them subject matter experts, or align them, I guess, with how they scored anyway, how their group scored, how was that handled within a teacher? Is that received well? Is that not received well? Is that a lot of coaching? How is that handled? Yes, yeah, your fourth grade deal.
Actually, it was the fourth grade PLC that decided to make the change.
Oh, so internally they did it, good.
Yes.
Yeah. So that wasn't a top-down decision, that was
It was done in the PLC.
I know Mr. Yo's had to do a few of those back in the day, but those are for different reasons, but.
I let them think they decided.
Yeah. Good, that's even better, I guess, yeah.
Is there anything we can do to increase the attendance at the Be Success Academy? I mean,
That is, I wish we had a magical wand, and we're talking about kids that have potentially been disheartened about their education, and so we're really trying to focus on building a culture where they feel very much supported and able to take risks and know that we'll pick them up and we'll dust them off and we'll keep moving on. So that's slow, because you start with who comes primarily every day, and you hope that word of mouth will start kind of bringing everybody in, that they know that we have staff that cares about them being able to get to the next level. So we're trying. We're doing all the same things that, you know, the traditional campuses are doing, as far as phone calls, you know, parent meetings, trying to get, you know, attendance filing. That's not really, you know, super valuable, but we're trying. So we're hoping that the cultural piece will start bringing the kids more in.
And she might not tell you this, but I was in there recently, and she and Ms. Engelking were cooking pancakes for the kids that had perfect attendance for the past couple of weeks. And you should have seen the kids that were like, why am I not getting pancakes? What do I need to do to get pancakes? So they are doing lots there, not just the technical things, but really some cultural things there to get kids. So she might not brag on that, but I sure will.
well, that's why I brought it up, because I'm sure there's a lot of business community that, you know, would do like Pizza Thursday, or, you know, do different things to support you or help you. And if you do, you know, let us know, and we can help you.
Absolutely.
Think food, you know, food gets in there, or, you know, just extra things like that, or prizes that you need if they come, or, you know, stuff like that, and things you know if they need, maybe we can help you.
Thank you.
Just call me.
I sure will.
Is there any requirement when kids go into tier 2 and 3 from a parent engagement standpoint for all these Saturdays and tutorials and after school things? Do we put any type of requirement on those kids, parents, to be engaged in that process, or part of that process, or how's that happen?
It hasn't been a real strong practice to require parents. We would love to, but I don't know how we could enforce the requirement
Maybe
into the
not require,
parents.
but if there's are they engaged, or is that part of the process? Is that part of the process, or is it?
I think it varies from school to school. I know that most of our parents intend to want their child to do better, and they're very supportive. I can't speak to all campuses, but some parents are not engaged at all. And so the kids will come on their own. A lot of times they'll come because of the culture, the food that's going to be offered. We make sure that there's food offered all the time. And sometimes, I know, especially in our Freeport and some of our clue patterns, they come to get a meal. And so that's an incentive to come. But, you know, it varies. We like to say that we might make some phone calls that require our kids to be there. But as far as can we make them? No, but we can strongly encourage.
I think the effort has gone out, because I've seen the post on Facebook, a message came out on Messenger. I mean, y'all are doing what you can within the realm of what could and should be expected. other than having FAA students and a bunch of rope go hog tie kids and physically bring them up there, I'm not sure what else necessarily can be done, other than getting rid of Kurt Busch and putting Kevin Harvick's car up there.
Okay, so one of the hallmarks of a professional learning community board members is to have homework assignments for you, to actively engage you in our data disaggregation. So, Marty, my wonderful assistant, passed out a homework assignment for you to further look at our STAR comparison tables between 2018 and 2017. So we'll let you disaggregate that data on your own, and if you have any questions, you know we're always available. One thing we can say is in BISD, we are data rich. So if it's not in a dashboard, it's going to be in a table or a pie graph or whatever we have available.
So
Ron can make it happen in any form, shape, or fashion.
So these are comparing mock score to mock score, not mock score to end of year, sorry.
No,
Okay.
mock to mock from last year. So, you know, initially you see a lot of green, that means that we are in a better place this year for mock. And the other piece I want y'all to really be cognizant of, when we took the mock, we had not completed our scope and sequence. So we always take a gamble in taking mock that we haven't taught all the teachers that we need to, but, you know, we're continuing to do that as well. So I think, and I want to speak on behalf of these awesome leaders out here, even though we had storms and winds and days that we didn't go to school, we really focused on those essential outcomes to ensure that our kids have what they need before they take the test tomorrow. And that concludes.
Can I ask one more question on PLCs? Clearly, we're all in on the PLC. You're doing everybody's doing it and whatnot. Is that statewide PLCs? Everybody buying into that, or is that still growing? What's the percentage of people using PLCs in Texas?
Well, it is not statewide, but I would say the trend has caught on in Texas. And, you know, I have to brag on Polk Elementary. It's not just a national model school, it's an international model school. But it has swept not only the nation, but Solution Tree, who had the author, God rest his soul, Rick DeFore, who was one of the hallmark founders of tagging professional learning communities. It's worldwide. They're sending representatives because even in Singapore and Dubai and other countries, it's sweeping not only our American nation, but we're looking at international, because we know that when people work together interdependently and have a collective responsibility, over thousands of research supports that when people band together and work collaboratively, they're going to get better student results.
Yeah.
So it's an international sweep. In Texas, I would say the amount of conferencing has increased 3 times. We used to have like 1 PLC conference in Texas now, and now we're up to like 3. I'm thinking 4, because now they doubled the time in San Antonio and they doubled the time in Dallas. And in addition to our professional learning communities knowledge, is our knowledge of our response to intervention, our RTI. So that's where we're looking at a lot of, you know, Karen mentioned that Tier 1 instruction is the outstanding things that we do, our best practices every day. If we do that Tier 1 right, we're going to lessen the kids in Tier 2 and Tier 3. But we're always going to have some kids that don't get it the first time. So we try to address that in a Tier 2 intervention, which is within the classroom. And then the kids that don't get it, we have to bring in outside to support them as well. So RTI and PLC, it's all under the same umbrella, but I would say that our district is being looked at as a model to serve in other districts.
Setting the standard, one might say.
We get phone calls continuously, and I think some of our other schools do too. I know Terrace does because it's high profile, it's on the web, but, you know,
We also refer our high schools and our middle schools as intermediates as well. And our board, we brag on our board being a PLC, because that's something that's kind of new, that's being tapped. I know in our research world, our board is looked at as a professional learning community, not just because, you know, you get together and you work together and you like each other, but because y'all actively engage us and we engage you in reciprocal release of information. So, you might be doing a workshop for us soon.
Do we get food?
VIP.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item, our next regular board meeting is scheduled for next Monday, April